Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. The US has recorded its lowest daily death toll from the coronavirus since March, with 330 fatalities in the past 24 hours. The death toll in the country has crossed 115,000. In Brazil, 612 more people died, taking the death toll to over 43,000. Worldwide, the death count has topped 433,000, while infections are over 7.9 million. More in this report.
The coronavirus pandemic is showing no signs of abating as China and South Korea combat a second wave of local infections. China has turned to mass testing and district-level lockdowns in Beijing after a jump in cases connected with a wholesale food market in the capital. US President Donald Trump is scheduled to hold a rally on June 20th, which experts warn can be extraordinarily dangerous. Meanwhile, Peru's historic peasant brigades have re-emerged to implement the lockdown amid surging cases.
We are in a tireless fight against the invisible pandemic that has been doing damage to various countries of the world. And so the peasant brigades, based on our own experiences in the 13 provinces of our region during the state of emergency, we have assumed a predominant role in what concerns territorial control.
Shops in England selling non-essential goods will reopen today for the first time in almost 3 months amid strict safety measures. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged people to shop with confidence. In France, President Emmanuel Macron is accelerating plans to ease the country's lockdown.
The new phase, which begins tomorrow, will allow us to accelerate the economic recovery, and we need it. I'm relying on you because we need to fully start up our economy again, all the while protecting the most vulnerable.
Australia is looking at infrastructural spending to boost its economy as the country faces its first recession in 30 years due to the pandemic.
In Pakistan, 97 more people have died from COVID-19, taking the country's death toll to 2,729. The health ministry says over 5,200 tested positive in the past 24 hours, taking the infection tally to more than 144,000. The ministry said over 53,000 people have recovered across the country, while there are more than 88,000 active cases. The ministry said more than 897,000 tests have been conducted, with some 29,000 overnight. Officials said Punjab province has reported 54,000 cases and Sindh nearly 54,000. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa has over 18,000 cases, Balochistan 8,177, and the capital city of Islamabad more than 8,500. Meanwhile, Punjab government has announced to seal the worst hit areas by coronavirus in eastern city of Lahore for 2 weeks. Pakistan has dared India to invite Prime Minister Imran Khan to occupied Kashmir to get a reality check of who the Kashmiris truly love. Talking to media, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said the Kashmiris were never this weary of New Delhi as they are today. Qureshi slammed Indian Defence Minister Rajnath Singh's statement that people of Azad Jammu and Kashmir fantasize about being under New Delhi's rule. He said India continues to lock the world out of occupied Kashmir to hide its brutal human rights violations in the valley. Earlier, Pakistan's Foreign Office said Rajnath Singh's statement is another example of New Delhi's delusions about AJK and its obsession with Pakistan. It said instead of such delusions, the Indian government must immediately remove all restrictions in the valley. The Afghan government and the Taliban have agreed on Qatar's capital Doha as the venue for the first meeting in their peace talks. President Ashraf Ghani's spokesman Siddiq Siddiqui says there has not been any agreement yet on the venue of the direct talks. An expedited prisoner swap under the Doha Accord and a loosely holding Eid al-Fitr ceasefire paved the way for the talks. The intra-Afghan dialogue was originally scheduled for March in Oslo, but roadblocks in implementation of the Doha Pact delayed the process. Iraq's Prime Minister Mustafa al-Kadhimi says he will not accept attacks on the country's security services. During his visit to the National Security Agency, Kadhimi said he will work to prevent attacks against the police or military. But the Prime Minister said it is also important to preserve and protect the dignity of citizens. Al-Khademi added that Baghdad is facing great economic challenges which are reflected in the security situation. He said the government has several plans to overcome the crises and challenges. Earlier in the week, Baghdad launched a strategic dialogue with Washington to address the fate of the US-led coalition in the country. Turkey says it has launched Operation Claw Eagle against terrorists in northern Iraq. In a statement, the defense ministry said the fighter jets destroyed caves used by the terrorists for shelter on the first day. It said the warplanes destroyed posts of the Kurdistan Workers' Party in the vicinity. The ministry said the operation is being carried out in Sinjar, Kandil, Karashak, Zap, Abasin-Baisian and Hakuk regions. Officials said Operation Claw Eagle is taking place under the right of self-defense sanctioned by international law. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation has slammed Houthi attacks on civilians in Saudi Arabia. The bloc also backed the Arab coalition's efforts in Yemen. In a series of tweets, the OIC said Houthis continue to target residential areas with missiles and drones. It also condemned the militia's recent missile attack on Saudi Najran city, in which some civilians were wounded. Earlier, the Yemeni government said the Southern Transitional Council has withdrawn from the Riyadh agreement. In a tweet, Foreign Minister Mohammed Al-Hadrami accused the separatists of seizing a money-laden vehicle of the central bank. The government and council signed another agreement in April to implement the Riyadh agreement. Israel has started preparations for building a new settlement in the occupied Golan Heights, named after US President Donald Trump. In a statement, the Prime Minister's office said cabinet ministers have ratified the decision. Settlements Minister Zippy Hotloway said her ministry will start preparations for a Ramat Trump to house 300 families. The 30-year-old Jewish settlement is currently known as Berushim and has a population of 10 people. Israel captured the Golan Heights from Syria in the 1967 Middle East War and annexed it in 1981. The move comes weeks before Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu plans to begin annexation of the Jordan Valley and the West Bank. Iran has slammed the US for pressuring the International Monetary Fund against a possible $5 billion loan for Tehran. State media quoted President Hassan Rouhani as saying the Americans were still trying to block the loan requested by Tehran. He said the IMF should not be influenced by the US plots and live up to the commitments it has made regarding countries badly hit by COVID-19. Earlier, Governor of the Central Bank of Iran, Abdul Nasser Hemati, confirmed Tehran has requested a $5 billion loan from the fund. In the US, the police killing of unarmed 27-year-old Black American Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta has been ruled as a homicide. In a statement, the Fulton County Medical Examiner said an autopsy proved the cause of death by 2 gunshot wounds to Brooks' back. The report said Brooks died from blood loss and organ injuries caused by the wounds. District Attorney Paul Howard says prosecutors will decide by midweek whether to bring charges against the police officers. Brooks' death reignited protests in Atlanta after days of worldwide demonstrations against racism prompted by the death of George Floyd. The UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson says there is much more needed to tackle racism in the country and around the world. This comes as Johnson announced a new commission to look at all the aspects of inequality in Britain. In an article, the Prime Minister said no one who cares about England can ignore the protests against racism sparked by the killing of George Floyd. But he said the UK should not attempt to rewrite the past by removing historical symbols. Johnson said Britain's heritage should be left broadly in peace. He also condemned the involvement of far-right thugs in protests on Saturday, which led to the arrests of more than 100 people in London. Meanwhile, in London, as anti-racism protests continue, right-wing protesters against the Black Lives Matter movement gathered in the city to protect public symbols of British history. Despite police warnings to stay home, videos of the demonstrators singing the British national anthem and chanting England were seen. Many gathered at a statue of the former Prime Minister Winston Churchill, calling him our own after protesters dubbed racist on it last week. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has warned that anyone attacking public property or police will face the full force of the law. In Russia, a court in Moscow has sentenced former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan to 16 years in a high-security prison, announcing him guilty of espionage charges. Whelan has declared himself innocent and said he will appeal against the sentence. He was detained in Moscow by the Russian Federal Security Service in December 2018 on charges of spying. Whelan's defense claims he was framed after he was handed a USB drive by an unknown Russian national. He said Whelan thought the USB contained pictures from a touristic journey, which it actually had a list of employees of a classified security agency. Russia's foreign minister said some 22 US nationals are imprisoned in Russia for crimes including fraud, drug smuggling, robbery and rape. More stories to follow right after a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The European Union has ruled out a transatlantic alliance against China and dismissed systematic rivalry with Beijing. In a post on its official site, Policy Chief Joseph Borrell said the bloc will not pick a side in the US-China conflict. Borrell said the European style of diplomacy focuses on multilateralism and cooperation. This comes ahead of a video conference of the bloc's 27 foreign ministers with the US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. The meeting is expected to focus on US allegations of disinformation on Beijing. It will follow the first EU-China summit next week. Pakistan's Air Force has paid a rich tribute to the veteran group captain Saiful Azam, who breathed his last in Bangladesh yesterday. Air Chief Marshal Mujahid Anwar Khan acknowledged his gallantry during the 1965 Indo-Pak and 1967 Arab-Israel wars. Khan expressed heartfelt grief on the veteran's demise. He said Saif was an exceptional fighter pilot who will always be remembered for his valor and professionalism. The late group captain Saiful Azam also attained global repute when he shot down 3 Israeli aircraft during 1967 Arab-Israel war. The recognition of his heroic contributions, he was honored with the military awards by the governments of Jordan and Iraq. The US government also bestowed upon him the title of Living Eagle in 2001. And Pakistan has announced to start manufacturing its own COVID-19 diagnostic kits for commercial use. Minister for Science and Technology Fawad Chaudhry says the kit has been approved by the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan. In an interview, Chaudhry said locally manufactured kits will considerably bring down the cost of coronavirus testing in the country. He said the kit was developed by experts at the National University of Science and Technology with more than 90% accuracy. The minister was also hopeful about developing domestic ventilators within the next few weeks. He said clinical trials of 4 machines have already entered their final phase. Yemen has closed its embassy in the Saudi capital Riyadh indefinitely due to several confirmed COVID-19 cases among the staff. In a tweet, the embassy said it suspended its services from June 14th. Similarly, the Philippines embassy also announced closing its office for labor affairs after 6 staffers tested positive. It said the office is being sterilized and employees are working remotely. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez says the country will reopen its borders to all the travelers from Europe's Schengen area on 21st of June. In a news briefing, Sanchez said even though the virus has been cornered on the continent, the risk has not disappeared. But he said Spain's land border with Portugal will remain closed till 1st of July on Lisbon's request. The state of emergency in the country ends on 21st of June as well. Limits on mobility will be lifted by wearing publicly the masks, which will be mandatory. Visitors from outside the Schengen area will be able to visit Spain from July the 1st, depending on specific border agreements. Spain's borders are currently closed to tourists, and those exempted from the entry ban must spend 14 days in quarantine. In Turkey, one person has died and 18 others were injured after an earthquake of a 5.7 magnitude jolted the eastern Bengal province. The Disaster and Emergency Management Authority said the quake struck the Kareliova district. Officials say a guard died and 3 others were injured after 2 observation towers of the police station collapsed in Kenapinar village. Rescue officials said none of the injured is critical. The earthquake also partially damaged 10 houses in El Mali and Dinabe villages of Yedisu district. In Iran, an earthquake measuring 5.1 on the Richter scale jolted Behram district south of Fars province. According to the National Seismological Center of the Institute of Geophysics, the earthquake's epicenter was 16 kilometers deep. It struck 17 kilometers from Behram city and 24 kilometers from Lembat. No casualties have been reported so far. Iran sits on major fault lines that are prone to nearly daily earthquakes. In Myanmar, a local resident has started using food trash as compost to transform it into organic fertilizer. He's not only contributing to environment protection, but also earning handsome income. More in this report.
Food trash is equally harmful for the environment as is the plastic and other metal waste. Recycling waste is usually considered the reprocessing of plastic and other metals. But in Myanmar, a local has come up with a unique idea of transforming food waste into organic fertilizer. In Yangon, up to 2,500 tons of waste are produced every day, mostly from homes and restaurants. Inda Aung So has learned to transform food waste into organic fertilizer.
When we talk about recycling trash, most people see only plastic and other metals. Most are not aware of organic trash. This organic waste also causes damage to the environment at the same level as the plastic does. The food waste is kind of contributing factor affecting global warming and climate change.
Soe is not only contributing to environment protection but also earning a decent income. He believes his business is about to grow as some large hotels and private schools have also begun buying his products.
People think that food waste is just trash. Trash. It is difficult for me to introduce the idea to the public that food waste is a natural resource. But I am seeing a bright future for our jobs because some big hotels and private schools are buying my products and they want to change their trash systems. I'm firmly confident that my job will become successful even though we have had difficulties at the beginning.
Inda Aung So said it is difficult to convince public that food waste is a natural resource. He has produced a huge amount of fertilizer and expects to increase the capacity in a few years.
Lows in the highs of the business world now. Stocks in Europe are trading lower as concerns over a second wave of coronavirus cases dominate market sentiment. Investors also vary over a probably surge in COVID-19 due to anti-racism protests. London's FTSE fell nearly 1.5%, while Germany's DAX lost over 1.5%. France's CAC 40 slipped over 1.5%. The Stocks Europe 600 lost over 1%. Earlier, Asian stocks slipped in early morning trading, pointing to more losses ahead. And now the weather situation from around the globe. And that's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.